Alright, Mr. Power, I have a new fella here for you.
Mr. McGuire, who have we?
Mr. James Condon. All the way from Carroll.
Carroll, man. What's your full name?
James Michael Condon.
What's your date of birth?
12th of 7th, 88.
Address?
29 Patrick Street, Carroll.
Read that and sign it.
You wouldn't be the best, to be honest, now, man, to be honest.
Can you read?
No, not really, no, not the best.
Can you write?
I can sign my name now, that is good.
Right. These are the terms and conditions of the Irish Prison Service. Make a mark there.
Where?
There, on that line.
Right.
Step back from the desk.
Come on now, go over here and strip. Take off your clothes.
I'm not stripping in front of the two of you. God knows.
Look, this is the way it is. You have to take them off. Come on. We'll do it for you now in a minute. Just take them off.
This is fucking wrong, man.
Hurry up and give it to the boy.
Hurry on, will you?
It's fucking wrong, man.
What are you?
6'1".
6'1". Blue eyes.
Blue eyes.
Fair hair. Fair hair. Any scars, any blades on you, no?
Nah, no.
Any sharps, any needles, no? You know any drugs with you?
No, drugs
No.
there, no.
Right, so okay, have a look at these tattoos. Left hand, Chinese right. What's that mean?
Just a few words is all.
Gangland, is it?
Gangland.
You gang member, are you?
Gangland.
Remember the chicken chow mein gang, are you?
That's it, yeah.
Is it? I'd say that's where they got to mean. You don't know, do you?
A few words, that's all.
Big man now, huh?
Shamrock with a crown on.
Patriot.
Yeah, Patriot.
XXX. Huh? You won't be getting much XXX in here. Huh? I hope you're not, anyhow. Now give me a look, Dylan. With a horseshoe around it.
The horses,
Who's
are we?
Dylan?
Your son.
Your son, where's he now?
In your business anyway.
Shut up, shut up. Where is he now? Turn around. Mammy's boy. Oh, that's where he is. Mammy's boy.
But your mother's proud of you now, is
Oh,
she?
dead proud, yeah.
Yeah.
So your mother's proud as well.
At home worrying about you. So you're happy, are you?
Yeah, I'm dead happy.
What size waist?
30 ways.
30 waist.
34, do.
Show them on.
I'm not fucking married anyway.
Hurry up.
The three of us will fit in these, no way.
Look, I'm telling you now the size of them pants are at least your worries. Shut up and put them on.
Fuck's sake.
Do as you're told and hurry up.
Look, these are the one easier to come off. Come on.
Fuck, I can't fucking wear them. Is there any belt there, Anne? No?
No, there's not, no.
Now,
Skinny little lad.
medium top. See the match last night?
I didn't, but I was with the woman, but I didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah, we're desperate Liverpool. You're on for evening.
I am, I'm on for the night. There's a good few coming in later now.
Call down to me later on.
I will, yeah. What are you doing, lad?
Actually, we'll put the good for a few after, will you?
Right, no bother. That's
Okay.
what we will do. Huh?
Come here, you. Step up there. That's your committal kit now. Hold out your hands. That's your pillowcase, your toothbrush, your toothpaste, and your jug and your piss pot.
Piss pot.
A piss pot. Use that in a cell, do you hear me? Take them away.
Come on.
I was put in remand and they had no beds in any of the juvenile places for me. So they had to put me into Limerick. And I was 14 and there was this wing on Limerick D1 for young people like that. Usually it was for people who were hitting that the juvenile places couldn't hold. Like. So I was in there and they just brought me in and there was another young fella that was in there for that. And there was all normal prisoners up over me and there was some same thing, grown-up prisoners on the other side of a cage as well that were on protection. So it was scary, like, you know, because I was kind of messed up on drugs and that when I went in there. And, you know, it wasn't a nice experience because I was kind of coming down off drugs and the guards and that were kind of slagging me and, you know, just telling me, like, and I was afraid of all sorts of things, like, do you know what I mean? Because all I knew was I was in a big prison, like, do you know what I mean? And, you know, but I just remember that night, like, I was scared.
Like when you wake up first thing in the morning inside jail, yeah, it's kind of a weird experience, alright, and you go down to get your breakfast and that, like, you know what I mean? And you're wearing a green t-shirt and a pair of grey cards. Yeah, it's kind of pretty fucked up, alright. And you're looking at a whole lot of weird heads.
Oh, did you feel threatened at all, or was it?
I'd feel more intimidated, yeah, you would, yeah, yes, of course would. Looking at people that you've never seen in your life, like, never seen before, like, and all rough heads and gear heads and, yeah. It's mad, yeah.
What was that, St. Pat's, or was it?
St. Pat's, yeah. That would be my first sentence, yeah, St. Pat's.
What age were you then?
16. And I was nearly 19 leaving it, so, yeah.
I remember going to jail and going into Cork prison and you know, stripping naked and going into a shower, you know, for the first time, you know, freaked out of my head, like, you know, and then going out onto a land and put in a cell with a load of lads, like, you know, I remember one time I was in a cell, there was 20 of us in the committal cell, it was so overcrowded, like, you know.
Well, you know, it was a weird experience, like initially when I was in court and I got the sentence, you know, it didn't really hit home until I actually got to the prison, and then it kind of started to sink in that yeah, fuck, this is happening, like. But yeah, nervous like initially, but once I got in there, and after about a week, you know, you'd settle down and you just have to put your head down and get on with it, like, you know. Just, if you sit there and sulk about it, like, it's only going to make it 10 times worse for yourself. So, you know, you're best off just to get on with it. And yeah.
When I heard the bad news now, I was kind of shocked. But when I got there, like, it wasn't too bad. I knew loads of lads up there, so I wasn't really nervous or frightened or anything, like, so. Because the majority of lads are up there, I knew them, and I knew I was going to be all right up there.
You know, it's an intimidating place, like, you know, you're always looking over your shoulder, like, you know, well, I was anyway, like, you know, like, and I'd be a kind of person out in the world where I think I was, you know, out in society where I think I was someone fucking a force to be with, like, you know, and in there I was quite, like, you know, in jail. It was pretty hard, like, you know, it wasn't easy, you know, and what I found very hard, you know, was, like, you know, you're in with people, you know some of them, like, you know, and you're mixing with people, you don't really fucking, you know, like, you don't like when you don't know, and a lot of them, you're coming out with it worse than you go in there, like.
Right, lads, I'm new fella here. Look after. Alright, lads, what's going on?
Wait, what's happening? What are you in for?
You're in remand.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Your first time, man.
Yeah, first time, yeah.
You piss over there, and if you want to shit, you use the fucking toilet out in the landing, and you better do it before lights out, so I don't want you ringing that buzzer and wrecking my fucking head.
What time is lights out?
I don't fucking know. Oh my, the governor. You're spoiled the jail about enough, man, next door.
What happened?
Fucking, he was fucking wanting to clean his piss pot, so then he tried to piss out the window. If he did, then you get the fucking head kicked off.
Yeah, I suppose that's the joys of having no friends in here. I'm in here the last 18 months and I've got 6 to go, and he's the same. It's a long day and an even longer boring fucking night. Are you on that yourself, are you?
Yeah, we smoked out with a hash and take that for pills, that's what it.
Oh, yeah?
Here, man, take a bit of this, time will fly.
I'm not smoking that, man, that'll fucking blow the head off me,
You
man.
leave it at the gate when you go.
Be good for you.
Suck it up.
Come here, listen, you're going to be going to court soon, aren't you?
I think that's how it works there.
Yeah, if you're on remand, you will. Come here, when you go, I want you to do me a favour now, because you owe us for that. There's a friend of mine who's going to leave something in the toilet, so all I want you to do is pick it up and bring it back into me. I'll have everything arranged and we'll sort you out after, alright?
I'm not doing that, man, I barely know you even.
Here, you fucking know us for that.
Don't worry, babe, we look after you, all
An embarrassing moment for me, like, was a day in jail when I was given release. It was TR. I'll never forget it. Till it was horrible, you know. They called me in. I was still in prison clothes. I don't even think I was in there that long. Like, I was still in prison clothes, and they called me and told me that you're getting out, and they left me up for a shower. And none of my clothes were actually taken out of the locker since I've been in jail. I got in the shower and I had to put on the clothes I actually went in to jail with in the day of court, and there was a smell of them. And they gave me a black bag and a ticket for a bus. Went down to the bus station in Cork and went to Waterford, and the bus was packed. I'll never forget it. There was a young one on the bus sitting beside me, and the smell of me, it was horrible, like, you know. And that was my day out, like, that was me getting out of prison, back home, you know, going back home and feeling like, you know, that nobody there liked me, like.
Just told on the day, knock on the cell in the morning, and you go and get your stuff together, like. So yeah, it was fairly unexpected, like.
Did you have any idea? Did you have much left on your sentence?
I had about a month left on my sentence, and I had no idea that I was going to be let out.
So what was that like for you, just being told on the day?
There was a sense of relief, but then once I got outside, it was like, what do I do now, you know? But it was alright, like, you know. I just had to get on with it. But it was worrying, alright, like, not knowing what I'm gonna do when I'm getting out, like, well, you know, just left out of the gate in Dublin with a bus ticket, and that's it, like, you know. So yeah.
So like when I came out, so where the jail is in Portlaoise or whatever like that, it's just on a pure main road, it's not in the city centre, it's not. So there's no fucking guidebook where to get to the bus stop or anything like that. Like. And so like I don't know, I wrote out a voucher and it just basically said voucher from the prison services, James Condon, from Waterford or from Carlow to or from Portlaoise to Carlow, like that simple as. And so like I had to ask, you know, I was asking people on the, so like I walked out of the jail, that was it. You know what I mean, simple as. So like I don't know. So asking people on the street and so like I don't know, strange town, not knowing where to go, what buses, where does the bus going. Then asking people and they said, oh Jesus, I think you have to go to Dublin. Do you know what I mean, to get to Carlow. Because the bus will stop at 3 or 4 o'clock in the day or something. So if we finished having to get money, Joe, to get, I didn't even have the price. Joe, I don't know, I had to ask someone for credit to ring my girlfriend and Joe, she had to organise a lift up. So like I still have the bus ticket and all that, like, but so where I am now, like, so that was my, I don't know, so like that was my, it was kind of like on a really mild joke, but still my mind frame was still the same, like, I still had all the worries, still had, do you know what I mean, there's probably still a knock-on effect, like, I still haven't lost that level of paranoia, like, and so like the stuff that I worried about then are still the stuff I'd worry about now going into jail and all that, like.
When I got the sentence, alright, you think, Jesus Christ, it's going to be a long time before I get out. But then, like, when you get into your sentence, like, kind of gets into an old routine, and then before you know it, like, they ask you to pack your kit and that, and then, yeah, it was kind of weird, like, going in there, because I was only a teenager. And then I was getting out, like, just before I was 19, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's most of your teenager's life gone, like, and then they try and throw you back out to the world where these iPods and iPhones and all this shit came out then, you know? Yeah. They should prepare you for it, when you get out, alright, yeah.
What happens in prison, lads will get out before their due date. So look, there's a number, contact me, I'll meet you that day if you want. Usually the next day people go home to family, and but even that day or the next day then they'll meet up. And I suppose the first thing is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, looking at accommodation, food, and then looking at kind of getting your social welfare sorted out, and then looking at some education and training options to follow on with then.
But I came up the throw and we sorted things out, got back into the programme, got myself back on track, a few goals, you know, what am I going to do with myself.
Here, we have our own workshop, and there's a lot of training and employment options here during the day. Like there's gym, there's the boxing, we use St. Paul's Boxing Club. There's also a workshop where we service and repair machinery. But I suppose my role is a bit outside of the programme. It's helping lads access the programme here, but also looking at more mainstream options through FOSS, through the VEC, returning back to education, maybe some lads maybe back to mainstream school, for more the likes of Youth Reaches, YTech, which is a young person's FOSS project, getting them that, and trying to get them in looking at sport and rec options. And also to access counsellors and drugs workers and stuff like that. So it's about occupying a day. So someone's come out of prison, and some of the biggest fears that they haven't got anything to do, and they return back to crime and end up back in prison where they are. So it's plan and routine is most important when someone gets out, as long with their accommodation and their bit of social welfare.
I'm lucky I got into this place, and people that are in here are lucky that they're in this place. But not everywhere in the country have places like this, which is a pity. Because these places do a lot for, like, it's after doing a lot for me, like I'm a 24-year-old person now, and I have a child and everything, and I could easily get back into reoffending, like, and get back into trouble. But like the lads up here helped me. I'm going back to college in September now, like, I mean, I'm actually doing something with myself, not going around the streets acting the bollocks anymore, like. And, I mean, it's great, but they should make other things. They should, instead of just throwing people out in the prisons, they should have even people in the prisons, like this place, to have them all sorted out, have somewhere where they can go, try and set them up in a little small job maybe, you know, stuff like that, like, instead of just throwing them out in the streets and they're just going to be back there a couple of months later, like. That's the way I see it, like.
I've worked in the Irish prison service. I'd be well used to the environment on the landings in prisons, and you know, I suppose to reflect on the piece that we're doing. It's very hard to get all the issues, or to see the whole story through a small piece in film and play like we've just done. But you know, I suppose looking at it, it's an interpretation from the lads involved of some of the main issues that have affected their lives. And, you know, it's only one interpretation, it's not the full story, like I say. So, you know, there's an awful lot of positive stuff happening within the prison service and within the probation service. I mean, the reason that the likes of Tro and U-Casadh exist is because of funding, core funding from them. So, you know, I suppose the message that, you know, that's not lost on anybody here is that needs to continue and increase. And we need to, you know, increase the positive stuff that's happening in the community. You know, I suppose what U-Casadh is about is creating safer communities and giving opportunities to people to make a change. CASA means to twist or to turn. So it's a U-turn, not just with you know, ex-prisoners and people coming out of prison, but in regard to attitude of people, you know, and the way that we approach as a society the responses to these types of things.
We came from a background, I came from a background of addiction, heavy addiction, heroin addiction. And as you see, I was turning the mallet out there. I started a Friday, and I had the kids then the weekend, you know, and cleaned there now 6 years. And it's to do with U-Casadh. U-Casadh is a structure of your life, getting up like at 9:30 starting here, finish at 3:30. You know, it's just getting the structure in your life and getting out of that.
See, what we found was
addiction.
Boredom has a lot to do with addiction. If you have an addiction and you have nothing to do in the day, or even you just keep going down the same road. But what happens, I had an addiction problem as well. And what happened to me is myself and Trevor got into a routine of coming over here every day, and it's filling our mind up. It's keeping us occupied and keeping us away from what we used to be doing. Like, boredom is a big problem for young people with addictions. If they have nowhere to go or nowhere to use up the time of the day, they're just going to keep doing the same thing, making phone calls, getting this, getting that, and getting the other, and they're just going down the same street.
People need occupation. Isolation and boredom is a massive problem, and with you know, all of the client base that we're getting, and basically, you know, this gives them an opportunity to do something with themselves, to have meaning, to have, you know, they're surrounded by people who have belief in them, and you know, that's been lacking a lot in regard to responses, probably through their lives, you know. So that's what we do. That's what seems to be working, and you know, we're small projects, but we're having a big impact on a serious social problem.
U-Casadh, like, I'd always come here, and they, like, you know, anything I want to do, they'd point me in that direction. You know, they'd go out of their way to get me there. Like, you know, and I find without U-Casadh, I'd be still in trouble now. Like, you know, I'd probably be in jail today. Like, you know, or dead, even worse. Like, you know. That's me.
Put your stuff into that, come on.
I'm not going, man. Straight out, or I'm not going, man. Take him, he's a new fella.
You don't understand, the governor's have to sign your release, you're gone.
What's that about? I'm actually going in here.
Don't be jumping up to me, don't get up to me like that, you little sneak.
Sit down.
Just come on.
Straight out free, what do you want to do?
Look, do you want to stay here with these fools? Just want to, come on. Do you have money in your account? We'll give you a bus ticket.
My parents look after you. Sort that thing out for you.
What the fucking stay to him?
They told us to look after him.
What do you have to do to him?
I had him settle in.
Flynn, I'm telling you one thing, I'm going to be back down here and search this cell, and I'm telling you one thing, if there's anything gone wrong, you're down the block. You're getting moved. Come on.
You keep your mouth shut, don't you?
Come on.
Mr. McGuire, what happened?
Mr. Paul Riley, 6 months early.
Riley Paul, 18 months served. New man, Paul, are ya? That's what you come in with, Paul.
I'm in there looking for any time, man. I couldn't even fucking wash my stuff.
Take that and put it in the bin. Take it and put it in the bin then.
Put it in the bin.
Now come here, where do you stay when you get out?
I give you my mother's address when I came up here, but my mother's back with her fella. If I go back there, I'm going to be fucking warm.
Not our problem. The governor has your mother's address on record.
It's the only address I fucking have, but they're going to be warm. We'll be back in on it.
Mother's address. Take him away.
Alright, I'll see you later. I'll see you soon. Lights out!
What's wrong, Mom?